Hey, this is Jeff from Tenicor. Let's talk about lights. Concealment lights, lights on guns, kind of what and why we would have those different things. So I was a police officer for a long time, worked at night a lot. A flashlight was obviously really important as a police officer. If you also think about criminals and criminal action, lots of times it occurs at night or in diminished light. Criminals associate, even whether conscious or subconscious, a flashlight or someone shining a light on them with law enforcement. Generally, they're going to try to not be around when law enforcement shows up. Carrying a light's important. A requirement, if you're going to carry a light, is a handheld light. As a secondary thing, you could go to a light on your gun, but the light on your gun does not replace the light that you can hold in your hand. And the reason why is because you can't point your gun at everything that you can point your flashlight at. If I was to only have one, I'd definitely go with a handheld light. Any light is better than no light. And so having a big honkin' bright light with lots of candela or lots of lumen is great, but if it's so big that you're not practically gonna carry it with you, that's really not what you wanna do. This mod light here is great, but it is thicker and wider than I would wanna carry for an everyday light. This Surefire light is a little more practical, but I think this stream light is really on the larger end of light size. So this is a macro stream. For a long time I carried the micro stream, which is a little bit smaller. A lot of people will say that's not enough light, but the 300 lumens you get from a micro stream or the 500 lumens you get from the macro stream is better than no light at all. And it is, I mean, when I compare back to 20 years ago, the light that I used to carry at 60 or 120 lumens, like this is way brighter and way more convenient than that. I mean, this is probably brighter than the big honkin' duty light that I started with, the SL20. Drawing a gun and having a gun in your hand, you better have a pretty legitimate threat before you do that. But at any time, I can just reach into my pocket, pull out my flashlight, and I can hold this. And I can shine it at things, right? I'm just gonna shine like, where are my keys? I lost my keys, I'm trying to find my way in the dark. All of that is reasonable things, but also if you see or hear something suspicious, you can shine your light at that thing. And if there's a person there and they're a bad guy and they were thinking about doing harm to you or victimizing you in some way, they're probably going to scurry away. So there's a lot of advantage to having a light, and it is, for a tool, it is the starting place, I think, for anybody's self-defense tool. A light on the gun, this is useful. I mean, the value for a light on the gun is going to be the fact that I can have two hands on the gun when I'm shooting in a normal shooting position, and I don't have to modify things. If I have a gun without a light and then a handheld light, if I'm going to shoot in low or no light conditions, I have to use some sort of shooting technique, which is probably going to, even if I try to do some sort of two-handed thing, it's some sort of weird hybrid thing that really is not going to work as well as two hands on the gun like normal. So it definitely is a compromised shooting position to shoot one-handed or shoot in some sort of different light shooting technique. So there is value to the weapon-mounted light, but the weapon-mounted light makes it bigger and bulkier and harder to conceal. And generally it's in the spot where it's inhibiting your ability to put the gun in the optimal location. So you may or may not choose to go with a light. You just have to consider what are the assets and liabilities of that light.